13-year-old black kid shocks judge with legal argument. The courtroom falls silent. The air in the courtroom was thick with tension, a suffocating mix of whispers and the faint hum of fluorescent lights. 13-year-old Jamal Carter stood at the defendant's table, his small frame dwarfed by the towering mahogany bench where Judge Margaret Ellison presided. His worn sneakers scuffed the polished floor, and his hands, trembling slightly, clutched a crumpled notebook. Beside him, his mother, Letitia, sat rigid, her eyes burning with a mix of fear and defiance. The charge was petty theft, a candy bar from a corner store, but the stakes felt monumental. This wasn't just about $1's worth of chocolate. It was about Jamal, a black kid from a struggling neighborhood, caught in a system that seemed rigged against him from the start. The prosecutor, a man named Richard Holt with a slick suit and a sharper tongue, paced before the bench. "Your Honor," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "This boy's actions show a blatant disregard for the law. He stole, plain and simple. We can't let delinquency slide just because he's young." The word stung, and Jamal's cheeks burned. He'd taken the candy on a dare, egged on by older kids who vanished when the store clerk grabbed him. Now here he was labeled a criminal before he'd even had a chance to explain. Letitia squeezed his hand under the table. She'd worked double shifts at the diner to afford a lawyer, but the public defender assigned to Jamal was overworked and underprepared, barely glancing at the case file. "You tell them, baby," she whispered. "You tell them what you told me." Jamal nodded, his throat tight. He'd spent nights scribbling in his notebook, piecing together an argument from books he'd borrowed from the library and snippets of courtroom dramas he'd seen on TV. He wasn't just fighting for himself, was fighting for every kid like him, dismissed and prejudged. The judge, a woman with gray streaks in her hair and a reputation for fairness, leaned forward. "Mr. Carter," she said, her voice calm but firm, "you've chosen to speak on your own behalf. This is highly unusual for someone your age. Are you sure you're prepared?" Jamal swallowed hard, his heart pounding like a drum. "Yes, ma'am," he said, his voice cracking but steady. The courtroom fell silent, every eye on him. Even Holt paused, his smirk faltering. Jamal opened his notebook, his hands steadier now. "Your Honor, I'm not here to deny what I did. I took the candy. It was wrong, and I'm sorry. But I'm not a thief. I'm a kid who made a mistake, pushed by kids who knew better. I'm here to ask for a chance. Not just for me, but for kids like me who get judged before we even open our mouths." His words, raw and unpolished, carried a weight that filled the room. Spectators shifted in their seats, some leaning forward, others exchanging glances. He continued, his voice growing stronger. "I read about something called systemic bias. It's when the system treats people like me, black kids, harsher than others. I looked up cases. In this county last year, black kids were charged with theft 3 times more than white kids for the same kinds of crimes. That's not fair. It's not justice. I'm 13, but I know what's right. Punish me for what I did, not for who I am." The courtroom was so quiet you could hear the faint tick of the wall clock. Judge Ellison's pen froze mid-note, her eyes locked on Jamal. Holt scoffed, breaking the silence. "Your Honor, this is absurd. A child lecturing us on systemic bias? He's deflecting responsibility." But his words lacked their earlier bite. The judge raised a hand, silencing him. "Mr. Holt, I'd like to hear the boy out," she said, her tone sharp enough to cut glass. Jamal took a breath and pressed on. "I'm not saying I shouldn't face consequences. I'll do community service, pay a fine, whatever you say. But I'm asking you to see me, not just the charge. I want to be a lawyer one day. I want to fix this system. Give me a chance to prove I'm more than a mistake." The room held its breath. Then, from the back, A soft clap broke the silence. It was Mrs. Thompson, Jamal's middle school librarian, a wiry woman with glasses perched on her nose. She stood, her hands trembling but her face resolute. "Your Honor, if I may," she said, her voice quavering. The judge nodded, surprised. Mrs. Thompson stepped forward, clutching a stack of books. "Jamal's been coming to the library every day after school. He's read every law book we have, even the ones I didn't think he'd understand. He's not a troublemaker. He's a boy with a mind sharper than most adults in this room." Her words hit like a thunderclap. No one had expected this. Letitia's eyes welled up, and even Holt looked unsettled. Mrs. Thompson's testimony wasn't just a defense seat, it was a revelation. A glimpse into a side of Jamal the system hadn't bothered to see. The judge leaned back, her expression unreadable. "Thank you, Mrs. Thompson," she said. "Mr. Carter, that was compelling. I need time to consider this." The recess felt endless. Jamal and Letitia sat in the hallway, her arm around him. "You did good, baby," she whispered. "No matter what, I'm proud." Jamal nodded, but doubt gnawed at him. Had he said too much? Would the judge see past the charge to the boy beneath? When court reconvened, Judge Ellison's face was solemn. "Mr. Carter," she began, "your actions broke the law, and there must be consequences. But your words today showed maturity and insight far beyond your years. I've decided on 6 months of community service, mentoring younger children at the community center. You'll also write a report on systemic bias to be shared with this court. I want you to keep studying, Jamal. The system needs voices like yours." The gavel fell, and a collective exhale filled the room. Letitia hugged Jamal so tightly he could barely breathe. Mrs. Thompson smiled from the back, her eyes shining. Even Holt, packing his briefcase, gave a grudging nod. Jamal felt a weight lift, not just from the verdict but from the chance to be seen not as a statistic but as a person. As they left the courthouse, the sun felt warmer, the world a little bigger. Jamal clutched his notebook, already planning his report. He'd made the courtroom listen, and maybe, just maybe, he'd planted a seed for change. The path ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time he felt it was possible. What do you think? Can one voice, even a young one, shift the scales of justice? Share your thoughts.